It is a Wednesday evening. My phone is blowing up right here, right? Just when I get started. Ain't that just like the devil? And so it's one of my leads from real estate. But they can wait. This is consecrated time unto the Lord. Thank you all for joining us. This is Pastor Matt alongside Deacon Jermaine Devon Lee. That's the
That's my
alias.
Memphis name.
How you doing, man?
Doing great, Pastor. How about yourself?
Doing great. Thanks for jumping on with me tonight and helping us to negotiate some of the series and where we are with the series. I know that last week it was incredible, the engagement and the conversation led by Minister Renee.
Mhm.
Um, and I wanted to ask you, based on the series thus far, what you've been gleaning from it, how you're looking at expanding your faith, and even ways that you see that your faith is being tested and challenged.
Well, personally, Pastor, the way I've been growing my faith is more time with God to be, intentional. Like set aside. I try to set aside a dedicated time. Get up an hour early, meditate, walk, pray, talk to God. Then set aside, some time to read some scripture. Uh, and like I hinted on last week, that thing, faith, like you said, and we all know that scripture. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed,
Right.
so it can start out that small,
That's right.
but do so many great things, and so many things, like I said, can blossom from that mustard seed. Like
Right.
I touched on Galatians, fruits of the spirit. Faith is one of those.
Right.
But like I piggyback on that example, neckties. It's evidence of things, other things you may not see them. You showed a necktie, but
Right.
then I named the list of things. So I'm like, with that faith, hey, I have this, I have that. Even though right now, like personal, I know we all on this Zoom tonight wish we had more money. So, uh, got a trial today. Got transmission issues with my car. God, my baby trying to go to summer school. It gonna cost this much, and that man gave me this thousands of dollars. I'm like, hold on, my stomach hurting a little bit, for the amount that he gave me. But I know with God, there's a will, there's a way. So I said, hey, go ahead and get started. I have your money when it's ready.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey God, I'm pinching pennies, but my faith, and like I said, I've seen him work. I've seen him do something that I thought was impossible. Like I said, so with that faith, that hey, just overdose on it. Keep using it. Keep using it. Oh, it didn't work today. It can work. It gonna work. It's
Eventually.
going. It's
Yeah.
going to, because like I said, I trust him, I believe him, and I know it for myself that without faith, it's that because and I'll turn it over to you. Uh, Faith come by hearing. You've been given a great word. I'm hearing that word and I'm applying that word.
Yeah.
So
Every time.
that's how I'm growing my personal faith and like through my daily tests and trials.
Yeah. So I'm gonna jump into the text tonight, but I want you to come back at the end and help us to close things out, and we'll pray for those who are watching tonight. But I wanted people to hear personally from those who are actively engaging, who are serving, who are giving, and they realize that their faith is the pivotal piece of continuing to move forward. And so I appreciate the insights that you provided already. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we started on Sunday. I said that there was a part two, and you know, um, I didn't get nearly where I wanted to, but I figure I found a good ending spot for Sunday. But we'll get back to the word tonight, man. I appreciate you. You'll be back at the end. All right, you heard it from one of our deacons who serves faithfully. And so the reality is that when you start trying to use faith, that's when the enemy attacks your faith. Let me say it one more time. I'm saying it for everybody. When you start using faith, that's when the enemy shows up to attack your faith. And so the reason he wants to put it under attack essentially is because the goal is to try to take it, right? To take your faith, to quench your faith, to stamp it out, to make it of no effect. If the enemy can do that, then you lose. You lose. God puts a principle in place that we have to submit our lives to. That principle is found in Genesis. He speaks and things come to pass. We don't get a picture of God. We don't see him. He speaks and then things come to pass. And so many of us are trying to activate things in the spirit realm over our lives, but our faith comes under attack. And so we get distracted by all of the data that's coming in, right? In this natural realm, not the supernatural realm, but the natural realm. The natural realm is telling you that you're not going to overcome your symptoms. The natural realm is telling you that you're not going to change anything, that things are going to be as they have been. But that's clearly opposite of what the scripture says. That's why we went over Romans, that we're working with God who calls those things to be not, that be not as though they were. So the things that are not in existence, he calls into existence. The things that are outside of this realm, he calls into this realm. That's the way God works. He started it out in the beginning. He said, let there be light. He called light from another realm and brought it into the darkness, right? That's what he does. He brings things from another realm. The reason he does that is because it illustrates and demonstrates that there are two separate realms, the seen and the unseen, the temporal and the eternal. And you and I have to have the confidence that if he's spoken it, if he has already spoken it, then it is going to manifest. The thing that makes it accessible to us is our faith. Our faith. God doesn't need faith. God never needs faith. Why? Because when he says something, it is. If he says the sky is pink, guess what? It will change from blue to pink. God doesn't lie. It's impossible for him to lie because whatever he says comes to pass. It is truth. The nature and essence of who he is truth. And so he manifests things based on our ability to receive in faith. Receive in faith. Salvation comes that way. I know what you used to be. God doesn't change the way you look sometimes. He doesn't change where you live sometimes. He doesn't change your job sometimes. All those things can stay stagnant, but salvation has come. Right? It changes us. There's an ontological change that manifests itself. And we have to we have to agree with God. We have to agree with it. And so I'm going to bring back up on Sunday. I'll try to from Sunday. We'll try to recap a little bit of what we talked about in Mark's gospel. Mark is known as the action gospel, right? And so we catch all these things where it seemingly looks like Jesus is on the go. He's on the move. And so he was actually headed somewhere else when this happens, when this encounter happens. And it seems like an interruption, but it was divinely timed. God may make it divinely timed for you when you think it's an interruption. And so we talk about this woman. She is described. She doesn't have a name, but she is described by her issues. Somebody put that in the chat for me. She is described by her issues. And I told you Sunday, many of us got issues, and we treat our issues with tissues. We camouflage and we wipe away our tears because of all the issues that we have. And so I want us to know for certain that this woman was described by her issue. And so Luke doesn't take time to figure out her name. Neither does Mark nor Matthew. Those are the synoptic gospels that all capture this story. And so they're all informed of her condition, but they don't know her name. And so sometimes people will look at you and they'll see your condition before they know your identity. Can I say it one more time? People will look at you and know your issue before they understand your identity. And so sometimes people are defined by the issue because people will limit you to your issue. Put that in the chat for me, minister. Put it, whatever I said, whatever I just said, put that in the chat. Because they're looking at you, and so this is just what happens, right? People make observations. And so when they make observations, sometimes they are also making judgments. They're passing judgment. And so they see the issue and they say, that's the woman with the issue of blood. That's the one with the issue of blood. And so sometimes they know your issues, but they do not understand your identity. They know your issues, but have not accepted your identity. That issue was not who she was. Man, I'm saying stuff already. So she shows up because part of the challenge is that people get identified, particularly the longer they suffer with something. Yeah. So she's been suffering for 12 years, and she's in the most vulnerable state that a human can find themselves. Y'all remember what that state is? She is in the most vulnerable state that a human can find themselves in. The condition she is in is that she's bleeding. She's bleeding. And so she's been bleeding, not just yesterday, not just last year, not just the year before, not just the year before that, but she's been bleeding for 12 years. And so here's the dynamic that I need everybody to embrace, that everybody's bleeding. Everybody's bleeding. Somebody, everybody is bleeding somewhere. And I may be speaking metaphorically, but the likelihood is that you have some injury somewhere in your life. And it's trying to take the life out of you. It is trying to take the life out of you. Let me make the prophetic declaration over you that in him you live, in him you move, in him you have your being. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but he has come that you might have life and life more abundantly. And so, verse 25 says, there was a woman who had been suffering from flow of blood for 12 years. She had endured much. And so I put another word in there. And so, if there are versions that expand the text, but I put the word, she had endured much trauma. So endured much is a way, it's just a translation of saying trauma. She'd been through stuff. She had endured much trauma. And so it wasn't just the physical trauma, not just being under the physical strain, but the fact that she was working with many physicians who had probably prescribed many substances for her. And so while she was trying to get treatment for her symptoms, trying to find cure for her disease, more trauma was inflicted. I want to witness to the people who are trying to get better, but you keep hitting worse. Whew! I want to talk to the people who are really investing, putting in the time, putting in the energy, putting in the effort, and you're trying to get better. You're following instruction. You're doing what the doctor said. You're doing what the CPA said. You're doing what your supervisor said. You're putting in the energy. You're going back to school. You're trying to make the relationship work. You're doing the things that are supposed to make you get better. Woo! And we find out that better was leading to bankrupt. I might have to do this on Sunday one more time, because I'm not getting to nowhere where I'm trying to get to. Better what was leading to bankrupt. Not just leading to bankrupt, it left her bankrupt. And she wasn't getting better, she was getting worse. She was trying to get better, but trying to get better left her bankrupted. And so it's at that point, you wonder whether or not she has room to believe anything, because it got worse. When things get worse, it gets harder to believe. Can I keep it real? Real talk. Real talk. It's Pastor Matt. P. Matt coming at you. Real talk. When you don't see after effort that things are not getting better, it takes a piece of your soul, right? It takes some life out of you. And so I don't want us to overlook that she had been investing in getting better. She wasn't just taking the chance. She had made investments to be better. But her investments were failing. She was trying other substances, and other substances were failing. I need everybody to recognize that in our best attempts, we can't make us better. Come on, man. Come on. In our best attempts, truth is we cannot make ourselves better. Yeah. When you put your condition in your own hands or the hands of somebody like us, because we're all flawed. The truth is, we may not get better. I'm with you, Deke. I'm with you. And so I want everybody to come to that realization. I don't care how many yoga classes you take. And you can work on your health. You can do all these things. I'm not telling you not to do things. But I do want you to understand that ultimately, this is up to whether or not you can believe in the power of what Jesus can do. That's what this is going to boil down to. Can you believe in the power of what Jesus is going to do? And so I'm going to push forward here just a little bit. Man, I hope y'all captured those nuggets. We got a big announcement to make at the end of tonight. Don't let me forget. We got a big announcement. Okay, we got an announcement. Y'all know what the announcement is about. And so verse 27. So verse 26 says she was no better. She was no better. She was no better. After all the other substances, she was no better, but rather grew worse. Rather grew worse. And so some of us grow tired, some of us grow weary, some of us grow worse. What's in your crop? What's in your harvest? What are you growing? Come on, man. Well, what are you growing this in this season of your life? What are you growing? What are you growing? If you're growing worse, it's okay. Here's the thing, here's the shifting that has to happen in your life and in mine. Verse 27. She this I like the tense of it. It says not that she heard. She had heard. Woo! What's the difference? Okay. If somebody says something to you, you say, I heard what you said. Yeah. If someone just said something to you, you just say, I heard you. I heard you. Right? But if time has passed, I had heard. There was an indication of some information that stood out to me. Like, in other words, a reputation had been floating around about Jesus, and she had heard. With her current condition, she reached into the past and said, I had heard, yeah, what had happened. That's it. This almost feels like yeah. Come on, Sheila. That's some powerful gossip, ain't it? This almost feel like this black people telling the story, right? Trust me, there's some black people in the mix. She had heard about Jesus. In other words, this wasn't the first time she had heard that name. It wasn't the first time she had come across that reputation. It wasn't the first time that she knew something distinct about who this person was supposed to be. She had heard. And so, even though she had never seen, she had enough evidence, she had enough proof, she had enough data to make a decision. Woo! Ah, God. We did a series some time ago I'm about to make. One of the first things you got to learn how to make, you got to make a decision. She had gathered enough information. She had gathered enough about his reputation. She had gathered enough data telling her something's different this time. I have heard about him. I have heard about him. And so I'm going to tell you something. And then I want you to come back to this later when you need it. But I'm about to tell you something. Jesus can absolutely change your life. If you did not know it, I'm telling you. And if you knew it, perhaps you weren't pushed to a decision yet. And now I'm giving you information to increase the range of your probability and understanding that Jesus can absolutely change your life. I grew up in a holiness church. And in our early years, Elder James Salton used to say this. This is what he used to say. This is what he used to say. And it's stuck with me all my whole life. Jesus makes you well. Jesus makes you well. And so since he can change your life, he can make you well. And so she heard something. And so hearing something moved her towards a decision. And so I know you are. Apostolic Pentecostal, yes, you are. Yes. She knew what she saw in her body. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? She knew what she saw in her body. She knew what she was feeling at the moment. She was bleeding. She was injured. She was in pain. She was in trauma in every level, on every level of her life. She was fully engaged in trauma. Trauma was her master. But she heard something that made her leave her trauma for a moment. And if not leave her trauma, lead her trauma. She had to take her trauma. She had to lead her trauma somewhere. Here's my question for you. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Come on, you know what it is. Where are you leading your trauma? See, at some point you gotta pull over and drive. You gotta tell your trauma to pull over and you start driving. Yeah, you got to make trauma pull over and you got to start driving. Where are you gonna take your trauma? Are you going to stay in the passenger seat and keep letting this drive you to pain and suffering and heartache and broken? And are you going to keep letting that happen? Or have you heard something? Are you going to keep letting that happen? Or have you heard something to change your direction? Y'all make me remember all these old series. Directions, decisions, deliverance. Good God. That's an old series. Yeah, I might. Yes, Lord. Okay, so verse 27, she had heard. And so since she heard it, that means that it was loud enough to bypass what her body was telling her. Okay? And so you got to let your faith, you got to turn up the faith volume in your life, the volume of faith in your life. You got to turn it up. You got to turn it up, which means it might have to be more frequent. You might have to listen to it a little bit more often, right? You might have to listen to the word. You might have to read your Bible. You may have to audibly listen to scripture. You might have to do things and turn the volume up on your faith, because the faith has to now inform your trauma that things are about to change. And I'm going to tell you something about Jesus. He's kind of like those movie stars that show up in each movie and they the same person. They just do what they do, and it's a box office hit every time. And so she heard, and for a moment, it drowned out the noise of her trauma. Because she heard about this superstar. She heard about him. And so he's just trying to get through town, and it's essentially like a rally. People are touching him and getting around him, and it's noisy, it's chaotic. The disciples are trying to do crowd management and all that. So I want you to see this. Verse 28. Here we go. We're making a little headway. For she said, so faith, she heard and then she said. She heard and then she said. She heard. So faith comes by. This was Deke was saying at the beginning. Faith comes by hearing. She heard and she said. So when your faith informs you, then you have to speak something. You got to have the conversation with yourself. It does not matter if you tell anybody else. The most important person that you inform, it's got to be you. The most important person that you have to inform as it relates to your trauma, to your pain, to your sickness, to your disease, to your brokenness, to your bankruptcy, to your divorce. The most important person you got to inform. You don't have to tell anybody else, but you do have to tell you. And so she says to herself, if I just touch his clothes. Yeah. She heard and she said. She heard and then she said. She heard. Talk to yourself. Turn the volume up on your faith. And so you can say, she could have said, oh, it's going to be the same with him. She could have said, it's going to be the same with him. She could have said, it's going to be the same. It's just going to be the same. It's just going to be the same thing. It's just going to be the same thing. She could have said that, but she said to herself, if I just touch his clothes, Jesus can make me well. I will be made well if I just touch his clothes. And so I gave you the rundown, right? Levitical law, ceremonial law would say that she was unclean. She wasn't even supposed to be out in public. And so she was intentional about just touching his clothes because she did not want to touch him. She didn't want to touch him. She was intentional about what was touching him because she knew if she was touching what touched him, it'd give her enough power. Go back, watch Sunday. Go back. And so, verse 28, she talked to herself, and the talking to herself made her reach out. She's crawling. She's in the crowd. And so the reason we know she's crawling, the likelihood is so him is indicating towards the lower part of his garments. Right? She didn't just touch the fabric on the shoulder. And so scriptures is clear, suggesting the hem of his garment, the edge of his garment. And verse 29 says, immediately, this is rare. I want you to catch this, but the urgency, right? So immediately her flow of blood stopped. So you know when something is there, and then you know when something's not. If it's been there for 12 years, you figure it out. You know when it's flowing, and then you understand when it's not. And so she felt in her body, verse 29 says, that she was healed of her disease. Mark chapter 5. She felt it immediately. And so watch this. Look at the look at this. Look at verse 29, look at verse 30. Verse 29 says immediately. And then verse 30 says immediately. Verse 29 says immediately. See, verse 29 is her immediately. See, God's going to give you a moment. Come on. He's going to give you a moment to get your healing. He's going to give you a moment to get your touch. He's going to give you a moment. But then there's another immediately that's going to happen. See, there's an immediately that you're in charge of. Come on. Come on. Don't miss this. There's an immediately that you are in charge of. But verse 30, there's an immediately that happens with God. I don't want you to miss this. I don't want you to miss this. I know you ain't heard it. You ain't heard it talk like this before. I know you ain't. She was in charge of it immediately. But when you get in charge of your immediately you get God's attention. Come on here. And so verse 30 says, immediately aware that power had gone forth from him, Jesus turned about in the crowd and says, like, I mean, they up in there like it's the cookout. Like it's people everywhere. Like it look like if you're from the 90s, you know this term. It's like freaknik in the streets. It's crazy, man. It's chaos. And Jesus turns around and says, who touched my clothes? Who touched me? 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 What are we learning here? Let's go to verse 31. Verse 31. Look at the disciples. Disciples are negotiating crowd management, right? And sometimes people in ministry miss this. I'm going to talk to apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, evangelists. I'm teachers. I want to talk to us for a moment, just for a moment, because sometimes we miss this. We're more interested in crowd management than we are the power of God. How we gonna handle the people? How we gonna handle the people now? How we gonna handle the people? Yeah, sometimes we're more interested in the crowd than we are the power. I'm talking to the church. I'm trying to help somebody. Sometimes we're more interested in the crowd than we are the people. The people who really need to be healed, touched, delivered, set free. And so, verse 31, the disciple said to him, You see the crowd pressing in on you. How can you say, who touched me? So the the evidence is verse 32. He looked around. He looked all around to see who had done it. Okay, so she had heard, and he looked around to see not who did it, but who had done it. Oh, so the reason it puts the language this way to see who had done it is to indicate to us that when she showed up, it was really already done. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Uh, the same way that she had heard, right? Like, so it was an active hearing. And so Jesus was like, who had done this? Who had done this? And so it's designed to build not just her faith, but her courage. Come on. I need everybody to get this. Some of what you are going through is not just designed to build your faith, it's designed to build your courage. And so the crowd is like, what you mean? What? And the disciples are like, what? What are you talking about? And so everybody who's got hands on him ain't touching him. That's the other revelation, right? Everybody who's got hands on him is not touching him. Everybody who's got hands on him, power is not flowing through them. Come on. Come on. All right. Verse 33. But the woman, knowing, it didn't say what just happened. This is why the versions we read matter. Okay. This is why. Verse 33 says, but the woman, knowing, it didn't say what just happened. Woo! This had happened long before she ever touched it. I'm trying to call those things that be not as though they were. The woman, knowing what had already happened to her. What had happened. That's it. It some way or another, it's the text is suggesting to us that it had already been done. She had already heard. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Jesus said, who had done this? It's the manifestation of as though they were. Right? They already exist. We're just letting them in the room now. And so look at what happened. So it's not just for your faith, it's for your courage. It's not just for your faith, it's for your courage. And so knowing what had happened to her, here's what she does. She came. Remember I told y'all, just show up. Show up, show up, show up. If you show up scared, guess what? You're still there. If you show up afraid, guess what? You're still there. You ain't got to be you ain't got to be perfect when you show up. Just show up. She came in fear. But the fact that she came in fear is evidence of courage. The thing that makes a person courageous is the fact that they were scared when they were doing it. The thing that makes a person courageous is the fact that they were scared while they were doing it. And so she comes in fear and trembling. And I'm just telling some of y'all, show up. It doesn't matter if you're scared, show up. Doesn't matter if you're broke, show up. Doesn't matter if they say you're not prepared, show up. Doesn't matter if they say you're black, show up. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you show up, I know what had happened to you already. Yeah. I already know what had happened to you. My coach, my real estate coach, he says this all the time. He says, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Some of us talk ourselves out of it because it ain't gonna be perfect. Done is better than perfect. Just show up. Get out there and do it. You might make some mistakes, but get out there and do it. You might not supposed to be out there. She wasn't supposed to be out there. Done is better than perfect. Then I gotta get ready to stop. Okay. So verse 32, yeah, let's go back there. He says, he looked all around to see who had done it. There's a reckoning, right? There's a reckoning. Virtue left his body and went to somebody else's. He needs to know. He wants to know. He needs to get a witness. And so the woman came forward. He left room for her. He left room for her to come forward. And what'd she do when she got there? She fell down before him. So I believe the word used there in the Greek is proskuneo, which is the word for worship. I may have to check it, but to lay out before him is the image that we get. She fell down, laid out before him, and gave him worship. And told him, whew, she was addressing her trauma now, told him the whole truth. And so this implicates that she may not have been able to tell her positions the whole truth. I want us to see what the scripture is implying. Like, she told him the whole truth. The reason she could tell him the whole truth is because he healed her. The faith that she brought to him healed her. Verse 34. She told him the whole truth. Jack Nicholson made it true. He made it famous. He made it famous, but it applies. Everybody you're talking to can't handle the whole truth. Everybody you're talking to, they can't. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle. All right, so verse 34. Okay. So he said to her, okay, after her being ostracized, isolated, bankrupted, sick, injured, bleeding, hemorrhaging, he gives her a term of affection. She starts out in the text as the woman with the issue of blood. I'm going back to child support now. I'm trying to show you how it all ties together. She starts out with issues. Woo! And you may be in the middle of your issues. But he has a designation for you if you bring him your faith. She's not been accepted. She's not been celebrated. She's not been embraced. She's been unclean. But when he talks to her, he gives her child support. He gives her identity. And he lets her know, you are a daughter. Come on here. Because she brought her faith to him. She got on that substance, and now he could see her for who she truly is. It does not yet appear what we shall be. You start out with issues. Come on here. You start out with issues, but you don't have to stay with issues. You can start out with issues, but you don't have to stay with issues. That's up to you. That's your decision. Show up and do it scared. Do it scared and do it scarred if you have to. Whew. Okay, daughter. That's the designation he gives her. Hey, man, I've been in ministry a long time. I don't use that word often. I got one natural child, and it's a girl. So I know what it means to call somebody daughter and how I feel when I say it. And so if we don't use faith, then it's not a genuine relationship. But because she reaches out and touches his garments the way that she does, it creates relationship. And so he says, hey, this is going to mess some of y'all up. But he says, your faith made you well. Your faith. Because the truth of the matter is, some of us are using our faith, and our faith is making us sick. What you believe determines whether or not you're well or you're whole. You're sick. Whether you're whole or you're not. In this instance, your faith made you well. And what you believe is going to eventually show up in your life. It's going to show up in your life. It's going to show up in your language. It's going to show up in your life. It's going to show up in your language. And it's going to show up in your legacy. Oh, man, I've been going too long. Okay. All right. So he says, daughter. It's important that we get that, right? That he made the designation not to call her woman with the issue of blood. He saw her identity. Some people see your issue, and they'll never see your identity. Press past the mess. Press past the mess. Press past the mess. The people in the crowd may never understand. So he says, daughter, your faith. Your faith is what made you well. So what Jesus is really saying is where you take your faith to is going to show what you really believe. It's going to be the thing that defines whether or not you are whole or broken. Your faith made you well. He says this multiple times to multiple people. And so I'm trying to get us to take our faith to the right place. Because wherever you take your faith, that's what you really believe. Hmm. So if you keep taking it to your depression, that's what you believe. If you keep taking it to your trauma, then that's what you believe. I'm not saying that those things don't show up. I'm not saying that those things aren't real. But if you keep letting it drive, then your faith will make you believe what it brought you. It'll make you believe your trauma. Have you co-signing on stuff? And we talked about Abraham, whose body was as good as dead. Come on. Whose body was as good as dead. That's what the book says about Abraham. But God made him a father of nations. But you know what Abraham had to do, right? He believed and God counted it as righteousness to him. And so when you get righteous, then he starts calling you son, daughter, beloved. All right. Your faith has made you well now. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Go in peace. Go in peace, right? You've been in turmoil. You've been in trauma. You've been in chaos. But now I release peace in your life. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Shalom. Right? It's the Jewish word. Hebrew. Shalom. Go in peace. And be made whole. Be healed of your disease. And so the discomfort of everything, the trauma, the psychological, the depression, the bankruptcy, the brokenness, because she grew worse. Remember, she grew worse. She grew worse. She grew worse. But he identified her daughter. Woo! And when you're a child, you don't have to live in this. When you are a child, going back to child support, you don't have to live in this. So be healed of all your diseases. Everything that was broken, be healed of it. All right. All right. I'm in. I'm in for an hour. I'm done. I got it done. Okay. We got it done. We got it done. Woo. All right. Is Deacon's coming back in,
I think. Hey, great word, Pastor. Great word, man.
Man.
Great word. And while you were ministering, I did reflect back to the child support series as well. And I did reflect back to the initial message I first in person. What do I do now? And I know we pressed for time. I said, but with the lady with the issue of blood, she's still sick for years. You spent all your money. So her initial question is to herself, because she had to talk to herself, what do I do now? I ain't got no money. I'm still sick. What do I do now? Okay. And like she said, she heard, like that ties back, faith comes by hearing. So she heard that God's son, Jesus, can do this. If he's your healer, he's your dealer of faith. That faith, and I think of him, and we all know when we think of him, we think at the bottom. Because that's something you won't feel on a dress, pants. It's the most part that it's easily accessible without anybody knowing it.
Right.
And her faith, small amount of faith, if I could just touch. And that just said, okay, I got to the son connected to the daddy. Yes. And so if I can get to him, I can get to what I need. She got what she need, and that inflected, like I said, all those people. But he felt that one woman out of the thousands of people actually touching him in the same process.
Right.
But he felt a different touch because she had that faith.
Yeah.
And I reflect on myself and my brothers. I said, my dad was blind. Now, most of us, we got to see who we talking to, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, if I said, hey, Pop, hey, Jermaine, hey, Dad, hey, Tion, if my dad of unnatural sight know his sons, man, he
Come on.
know me. He made me. So
Right.
I ain't got no doubt that, hey, God, I need this. Hey, God, he already know who talking to
That's
him.
right. That's right.
So like for me, I'm like, man, if I use these tools, use my faith,
Mm-hmm.
he gonna give me what I need.
He will.
He's my daddy. Like I
That's right.
said, daddy got me.
Uh,
Like I said, just like you said, we both got baby girls. I
yep.
already know when I get the text from Madison, hey dad, she needs
Man.
some money.
Man.
And so
I,
it's like,
I've said for quite a few years now that the, if not the most powerful word, one of the most powerful words to me is daddy. Because
yeah,
my world stops when if I
yeah,
get that call,
hmm,
daddy, what? Like
yep,
I'm gonna I'm gonna focus my attention.
yep,
Yeah, but that relationship, right? So it's that
hmm,
relationship and how people reach out to touch God. It matters.
yeah,
After all that brokenness, the whole deal was she still it cost her everything, but you know what? It looks like she still had something left because she gave him worship.
yeah, yeah. She gave him worship.
She still,
We
I
have
mean, as broken as she was, she still had worship left,
oh,
and as she
in
was calling
everything.
out right before him.
Yep, in everything we got to give thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Man, I appreciate you jumping on tonight.
I
I want to
enjoyed it, Pastor.
encourage I want to encourage everybody to go back and watch Sunday. You may have to come back and watch this. I think I got it out. I don't think I'm gonna have to come back to it on Sunday, but I do want to encourage everybody to give. Right. So the dynamic that goes along with giving, when you hear words like this, when you hear a word like this, it is supposed to be designed to show that you still got worship left, right? That you still have something, like you're offering something as
Hmm.
as evidence that it's already done. Like it already had happened. It already not happened. It already had happened. So there's a completion that's already committed to it if we just trust in faith. So um, put the yeah, we got it scrolling down there at the bottom. We got the Cash App and $ Memphis Metro Church, PayPal. That's a platform that you can give on as well. And I want to encourage everybody tonight, be prepared to just continue to support the ministry. So for that big announcement, um, Deke, we were, Sunday I was pushing back a little bit because everybody's talking about Easter, and I was like, no, we're not. I mean, we'll be on this platform on Easter, but we got some great news. We will be getting together on Good Friday. That's next Friday, not this coming Friday, but next Friday, 7 p.m. at Powerhouse Revival Center. That's on Norris Road, South Memphis area. My good friend, Pastor Corey Pryor, covenant brother in the city. Um, we're going to be there. I will be bringing a message that night, and I know traditionally we hear 7 last words and that kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that, but that's not exactly the route I feel led to take. But I do want us to get together for that time at 7 p.m. on that Friday, on Good Friday, for us to come together and worship and experience the goodness and greatness of God together. So y'all plan to be there now. It's at 7 o'clock. We're not gonna be all night. We're not gonna be all night. We're not gonna be all night. But we are looking forward to the opportunity to connect everybody. That's Good Friday worship service, 7 p.m. That's next Friday. And we want to see everybody come out and join us. It's going to be a great time together. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate you being on tonight and helping us out. And we'll be back here on Sunday at 11:22 a.m. Want to thank everybody for joining us for Midweek Encounter, Memphis Metro Church Fellowship, Leadership, Worship. We are